going to be running through all the majors and crosses. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this week and the chaos that you can anticipate, especially in the middle of the week. But we'll look at some setups and see exactly how we want to play it this week. Please start out taking a moment to read the risk disclaimer, which should now be on your screen. Then we'll get started. If you're watching the recording, please take a moment to pause the recording and read the risk disclaimer. Okay, so let's begin. Let's start with the yen pairs. All right, so this is dollar yen. You can see after breaking out of this triangle, really fairly long-term triangle, we started it back in May. Finally broke out to the upside. It looks like we retested here on this candle, tested the 50-day EMA as well. That's in red. We sort of pushed higher, but we haven't really managed any sort of convincing breakout. A couple of reasons for that. One, the Nikkei soft lately, and two, the concerns about what's going to happen this week, specifically on Wednesday with the FOMC meeting, has led people to be pretty cautious about getting overly long the dollar, or really overly short the dollar. As you can kind of see that the pairs really sort of began to consolidate here after this breakout, which isn't really what you want to see on a breakout trade. You'd like to see a breakout followed by a strong move to the upside. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. 98 is support. Should we spike lower on Wednesday or sometime later this week, it is another retest of this trend line, and it is the 100-day EMA. So keep your eye on 98. And then, of course, 98.72 is this 50-day, which is also pretty decent support. So those are the levels you want to keep an eye on for dollar yen. I keep referencing Wednesday, just in case you're not sure or don't pay attention to fundamentals. This is one you may want to keep an eye out for. Wednesday is the FOMC, Federal Open Market Committee. End of their meeting, it'll be Bernanke's press conference. It's their economic projections and their monetary policy statement. This is the big one. The monetary policy statement this is the one where people are actually starting to look for tapering. I've been reading a little bit, trying to figure out exactly where economists in the market think is going to happen. And it's far from you that we will see something out of the Fed this week. All right, that they will reduce their asset purchase program. The question is by how much, and what the balance is, how much they reduce treasuries versus MBS, the mortgage-backed securities. But that's not universally agreed on. There are several economists and strategists who believe that the Fed is going to leave the program alone and push tapering off until December. And so what that means, a consensus on what's going to happen, we're going to get a lot of volatility. All right, so that's Wednesday afternoon during the U.S. session. Planning on being out of town for those Wednesday, Thursday. I don't have a great interest in trying to trade that volatility. I would rather, if I see a couple positions, I'll be happy to take them early in the week, get to break even, and then see what happens. But we're going to see a lot of volatility. If we do see the Fed decide to taper, all right, reduce their asset purchases, will likely be a bout of U.S. strength, U.S. dollar strength. But the question will be how long that strength lasts, and we won't really know that until we see the full amount that they're doing, and then also the result of Bernanke's press conference and what he suggests will happen going forward. If they decide to push tapering off and they don't reduce asset purchases, likely result is equities fly and the dollar will die. We should see dollar yen spike down. It could really spike down as much as 100 to 200 pips very fast. Euro dollar will fly. Pound dollar especially will likely rally significantly. Equities will also probably rally, though that's not quite as clear, as the fact that they're pushing, if they do push off tapering, it'll suggest sort of some underlying fears of the U.S. economy, and that may worry some equity traders. So we'll have to see exactly how that plays out. But like I said, I'm anticipating that they do make a small reduction in the asset purchase program, which should give us at least some small U.S. dollar strength against the yen. But again, we'll have to see how that plays out. And like I said, it's not something I'm looking particularly to trade. In fact, I'm going to go out of my way to avoid trading it. because I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a very predictable reaction. But dollar yen is definitely one that you want to keep your eye on. All right, we could see a spike down here through this top of the triangle. If we do, again, 98.72, 98, and then the bottom trend line is about 97.20 or so. That will be the next and final major support below there, and then 94.97 is the 200-day EMA. That's the last level to keep your eye on. If we do see that push off tapering, we really could see a pretty solid 3-month downtrend in dollar yen, but we kind of have to play that by ear. Let's move on to euro dollar. Euro dollar here, to me, bullish before, but you can see it started to go sideways a little bit here. We held this 50% fib here at 131, as well as the 200-day EMA, and we've pushed higher off there. We had 4 straight bullish candles before we've had 2 sideways red candles. We are setting up for some sort of flag continuation. We drop down to the 4-hour. All right, you can kind of see up here, well supported by these 4-hour moving averages. So I do like euro dollar to the upside, but right now there's not a perfectly clean setup. We'll need to see if we get a breakout here early in the week, maybe take to the upside. But again, like I said, target's really only 134, so about 100 pips to the upside. So it might just be a week to sit out of euro dollar. I think there are opportunities out there. Pound dollar issue that we have right now is this move is starting to get pretty overextended, which doesn't mean short it, but it does mean keep your eye out to buy pullbacks. I'd love to see 150 pip pullback here down to like 157. All right, pretty decent support down there for another long. You can see here moving averages 50 over the 200. That's pretty bullish too, at least. But I would just like to see a pullback here before I get involved in this. I don't really have any great interest in shorting the pound. Even if we break this ascending trend line, I will consider that more of a pullback to look for long opportunities. As long as we stay really above like this 155 area, start keeping an eye out for setups there. But I would prefer to see a pullback first. Aussie dollar. All right. I like buying Aussie dollar on a pullback to about 91.40, about 100 pips lower. 91.81 is also going to be some decent support. That's the 50-day. You can see I have this line drawn here. This is this 30.50 area, or sorry, 93.50 area that I've been talking about. I've been saying between 93 and 93.50 is major support. Got through 93 without too much of a problem. Now we rolled over at 93.50. I do still like this to the upside. Above 93.50 is head and shoulders break, double bottom neckline break, right? Bottom 1, bottom 2. And really about 96 would be the level to look for there. But we do need to clear that 93.50 level. Can't say for sure that we will. How's the sound for other people? All right, let me close some things. All right, that hopefully will help clear up some of the interruptions. All right, so let's go back. Let's go back to the Australian dollar. Like I said, I still like it to the upside, but we do need to get through 93.50. I said that I didn't particularly like Kiwi here, and I don't. Um, Here is the daily chart of the New Zealand dollar. 50% fib, all right, holding very well. All right, that's at 81.77. I still like Kiwi to the downside here, but it's been struggling a little bit. Um, It's at this major resistance level. I mean, you can short it here with relatively little risk, but it does look like it really wants to continue to push higher. So I'm a little bit wary about shorting, though I do still like it to the downside. I'm certainly not particularly interested in buying it right now, but if we see the pair start to consolidate up here right under that 50% fib, I would very much um, like to buy it. Yeah, I think that's a distinct possibility. All right, so first possibility here, now that we're testing this major resistance area, all right, is we do see a pullback down to about this 100-day EMA at about 80. All right, and then from there we could see a break higher. All right, the other alternative that we may see, all right, is just a sideways consolidation before a break higher. Keeping an eye out for either one. I don't like trading in either direction right now. I'm almost certainly not going to touch it at all this week. We also have New Zealand GDP this week. That is also Wednesday, so right after the Fed, we have major Kiwi news. So this pair is going to be particularly nutty. So just be really cautious if you're trading the Kiwi. All right, so this is Aussie Yen. Aussie Yen actually in a pretty decent buying opportunity here early in the week. Um, we kind of managed to break above this trend line again, and we're now retesting it. All right, we're sitting right above the 100-day EMA, and we're right at the 200-day. All right, so very much actually Aussie Yen a low risk long here. Like I said, I'm pretty neutral on both dollar yen and Aussie yen. So only really one of those needs to go up for an Aussie yen long to work. So I am actually looking at this at the open for a possible long. It's a highly risk-sensitive pair, as you probably know. So it's going to be super jumpy this week, especially Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But if you take it early enough in the week and you get a good move, you can maybe get it to break even and end up with a move up towards 96 by the end of the week. So definitely keep your eye out on Aussie yen. I think I got a request for dollar Swiss. Dollar Swiss inverse of euro dollar here. I've been kind of just mucking around. I like buying it if we manage to get back down towards 91.71. Other than that, I kind of ignore dollar Swiss. It's not my favorite pair. Pound Swiss, I like it to the upside, but again, overextended. Aussie Swiss and CAD Swiss, however, have some potential here. All right, so this is an Aussie Swiss wedge breakout pointed out a while ago. It's now consolidating, so the question is whether or not we rally or pull back a little bit. I have that area highlighted, all right, because there is a head and shoulders here on the hourly, a very, very clear head and shoulders. This is definitely another pair that I'm keeping an eye on here early in the week. Don't like being long the Swiss franc really at all, but this is a very nice potential setup. It really looks like we're kind of below that neckline to begin with. All right, so this is the 200-hour EMA. If that fails, it's about at 89, 85, 85 or so. If that fails, I may take an Aussie Swiss short. CAD Swiss, okay. CAD Swiss, kind of a flag. You could also call this a head and shoulders, so it's not nearly as clean as Aussie Swiss's. Keep your eye on this. Major start 89.60, major resistance about 90.50. So that's another Swiss setup to keep your eye on here. Let's go to the 4-hour look at it. All right, so that's kind of what I'm looking at on CAD Swiss. Very nice potential for a long. So we have some Swiss divergence Aussie. All right, so if we do see an Aussie Swiss breakdown, that would suggest a Euro Aussie rally. You can see the inverse head and shoulders here, left head, right. Trading right below the 50 period EMA here on the 4-hour chart. Major resistance, all right, extends up to 144.42. That is a nice level on Euro Aussie if you want to be long the Australian or short the Euro. I'd also just keep an eye here on this like this 4-hour consolidation here. All right, when eventually that gives way in either direction, it should provide a pretty nice trade on Euro Aussie. So definitely keep your eye out for that. See a quick look at Pound Aussie. Aussie testing a 50% fib. There's another potential head and shoulders being formed here. Got to keep your eye out. Whenever you see this rally from 143 to 174, start looking for reversal patterns. All right, just even a mild correction is going to give you a pretty significant gain. So watch out for this potential head and shoulders as well. You can see the neckline would be somewhere around here. All right. If that does break down, look for a move down to about 162. So pretty decent downside potential on Pound Aussie, but obviously that has to really fully develop. Euro Swiss, just because some people like it, I still feel the same way about Euro Swiss. Is I want to see it at maybe 122.80 to try to buy it, and then below that 120. Other than that, I'm not really super keen on touching Euro Swiss in either direction. This is CAD yen. There's not really anything particularly intriguing about CAD yen, unfortunately. All right, any requests, pairs that I didn't cover? This is E-minis. All right, this is the daily chart of E-minis. We're testing some major resistance. All right, really very important level here from about 1680, 1705. All right, is huge. So definitely keep your eye on these levels on E-minis, especially to see how we close the week. Major support 1650 or so. Like I said, 1705. Those previous highs is a major resistance level. 1635. All right, sure. Would be a major bearish victory. It would break that trend line and break the 100-day EMA. We could see 1581 pretty quickly should we get that sort of significant move to the downside. Gold and silver both sold off very hard. All right, I still like both of them significantly lower. Be very cautious about buying gold or silver here. All right, any requests? Pairs that I missed? Questions, concerns? No? All right. Max, thank you very much for joining me. I very much appreciate it. I will post the recording as soon as I can, so keep an eye out for that. I know I ran through a bunch of stuff really quick today, so you can find the levels that I mentioned when you watch the recording. You're very welcome. Enjoy. Good luck trading this week. Remember, keep it light. I mean, after this week, we should see some really much more clean trading. So sort of don't blow up your account this week. Keep it light and keep your stops tight. All right. Thanks again, guys. I will definitely be talking to you.